Welcome to Wheelchair Fitness Explained, a video series where I take aspects of fitness and break them down to make them simple to understand for you to take on your wheelchair fitness journey. Today I'm going to be covering high intensity interval training, also known as HIIT. High intensity interval training is a type of cardio training where we alternate between intervals of high intensity and intervals of low intensity. The length of these sessions tend to be on the shorter end, and we can change the length of the intervals and the intensity of the intervals depending on what your goals are, but we'll talk about that a little bit more later in the video. But before we do that, let's have a look at the key aspects of a HIIT training session. And the first thing here is intensity. HIIT training needs to be high intensity during the high intensity intervals. This is typically anywhere between 80 and 100% of your maximum heart rate. Now, let's have a look at the interval structure itself. We are alternating between high intensity periods and low intensity periods. I've already mentioned what we want to be doing for the high intensity, but for the low intensity, I typically do rest periods or something around about 10-20% effort, really light work. But for the rest of this video, I'm just going to refer to the low intensity as the rest. A common ratio for between these is usually a 1-to-1 ratio. What I mean by that is if we do 30 seconds of high intensity, we usually have 30 seconds of rest. However, you can change these intervals to make these sessions harder or easier, and that all depends on what you want to achieve from this session. Now, with the high intensity intervals, the longer they are, the harder they're going to be because we have to hold that pace for a longer period of time. But the shorter they are, the easier they're going to be. Typically though, we don't want to be going over a minute because that means we're not really going high intensity enough, because if we were, we wouldn't be able to hold it for longer than a minute. So you can play around with anywhere between sort of 10 seconds and a minute long for your high intensity period. Now, on the rest periods, we've got the opposite, in fact, where the shorter the rest period is, the harder this session is going to be, and the longer the rest period is, the easier it's going to be. And that's because on the shorter periods, we have less time to recover between the hard sessions, which increases the intensity of the workout. That means we don't need to stick to that 1-to-1 rule. We could do maybe 40 seconds of a high intensity and a 20-second rest, which would be harder than a 20-second high intensity and a 40-second rest. So you can play around with that and customize the session to your needs. Another key aspect of these type of sessions is that they are a short duration. So typically the sessions that I do are anywhere between 5 minutes for an absolute beginner to sort of 10 to 20 minutes for someone who's intermediate, and where I like to be is in the 20 to 30 minute range. I don't like to go over 30 minutes because I feel like if I am, that means I'm not working hard enough within that 30-minute period. What this means is our sessions are super time efficient. And also HIIT training is super versatile. We can do our typical cardio stuff like shadow boxing, pole workouts that I provide at Adapt to Perform. We can also do stuff like hand cycling, pushing your wheelchair, kayaking, swimming, and many other things like that. But we can also do stuff like weight training, resistance training, and other things that involve a harder exercise. All of these things add up to some great benefits of HIIT training. But before I talk about those benefits, I want to let you know that HIIT training is a massive part of the Adapt to Perform membership program. HIIT programs make their way into my beginner, intermediate, and advanced programs so that you can get the benefits that we'll talk about in a second from this HIIT training. And what's best, I hold your hand every step of the way, so you don't have to think about what intervals to figure out and how to adjust things for yourself. I do all that hard work for you, so all you have to do is turn up and train. If that sounds good to you, and if you want to get 50% off your first year, then click on the link down below and get started today. But enough about that, let's talk about the benefits of HIIT training. Now, exercise itself isn't the best way to balance out our calorie levels. However, it can add up to our overall target, and HIIT training can be one of the best ways to do this. The reason being is that we're doing a lot of work in a short amount of time. So we're burning the same amount of calories we may do in an hour of a different type of cardio training, but condensed into maybe a 20 or 30 minute session. The other thing is that it helps with our cardiovascular health. Because we go really high and hard and intense, it's pushing our body to the limit. This pushing to the limit tells our body that it needs to adapt to the stresses that we're putting on it. This adaptation leads to overall better heart and lung health, allowing us to stay healthy for longer. Another great thing about this is that it's super adaptable to your levels. So no matter where you are or where you're on your fitness journey, if you can do some sort of movement at a fast rate, you can do high intensity interval training. Whether that's doing something like shadow boxing, using some dumbbells and doing some bicep curls, whatever it may be, you can get this training in. Now, if you've been following my channel for a long time, you've probably already done a HIIT workout, but let's have a look at an example of what we could do. Now, before any type of high intensity work, it's super important to do a warm up, maybe 5 to 10 minutes of some mobility drills. Not only does this help with injury prevention, but it also helps to maximize performance in the session. Think of it as hitting the ground running. For the example of this structure, we will say we'll do 20 minutes and we do 30 seconds of high intensity work and 30 seconds of rest. For this, we'll alternate between different exercises, doing some punching forwards, punching up, sit skis, wheelchair burpees, adaptations. We can mix and match lots of different things up here each and every round. And then once we've done our 20 minutes, so 30 seconds of work, 30 seconds of rest, then we do a cool down, maybe do some stretches or some breathing activities to help reduce that heart rate down and to nicely send us into the rest of the day. Now, with these exercises, you can mix and match different things. I've already said you can change the length, you can change the intervals, you can change the exercises. So really make these sessions adapted to you. But if you don't want to think about that, again, you can join Adapt to Perform and I will do all that thinking for you. But I will say, do add some variety to your HIIT training. Don't just do the same thing every single day. First of all, keep challenging yourself, keep pushing yourself within these sessions and make them harder and harder as you get better. But also add variety to it. Do different exercises, different types of HIIT training, and that's going to make things exciting, which makes you coming back for more. And that's because consistency in your training is probably the #1 thing you should be doing. What you do in the session is far less important than how often you keep coming back and doing it. But in terms of how often we should be doing this, these are meant to be hard sessions. You should be really exhausted at the end of a HIIT session. So what that means is that we want to be recovering properly in between doing these. Quite a common misstep for people is that they think, I need to do this every single day. But what happens then is that our body doesn't recover properly in between and we don't get the maximum benefits from it. So I would suggest if you are going to do HIIT training, do it on one day, but have at least 1 day rest before doing it again. So if you did it on a Monday, for example, I wouldn't want you doing another one until at least the Wednesday. But that doesn't mean we can't do something else on that day in between, like a lower intensity workout or even some resistance training. The options are up to you. There you have it, guys. That's everything about HIIT training that I can tell you. But if you have any comments, questions or concerns about anything in this video, let me know in the comments section down below and I'll be sure to get back to you. If you did like the video, however, be sure to hit the like button. It really does help out the channel and promotes this to other people that will find this useful. And if you haven't already, or if you're new here, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more great videos like this and with more in this series coming soon. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you did enjoy and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Are you ready to start your fitness journey? Then sign up now at adapttoperform.co.uk and get access to hundreds of workouts specifically for us wheelchair users.